Let's look at the various types of random sampling or probability sampling, which is superior to non-random sampling or non-probability sampling, cause in random sampling, every individual has an equal chance of selection, making the sample highly representative of the actual population. Let's say we have a community right here, and the surveyor wants to study this community. The population of the community is 400, and the sample he requires needs a total of 40 individuals from these 400 people. The surveyor wants to study the status of diabetes in this particular community. Let's say if the surveyor applies convenience sampling, that is, he reaches out to the community, people of the community that is most approachable for him, then the people that is going to be included in his sample is going to be majorly the red people. The reason I have shown them with red is because these people of this particular locality of this community have a higher prevalence. They have a higher prevalence of diabetes due to some genetic reasons. So you have this community right here. In this community, the red people are a part of a certain locality within the community, and in this locality there is a higher prevalence of diabetes due to some genetic reason. If the surveyor applies convenience method, then he would get most of his sample individuals from this locality right here. That would mean most of his individuals in his sample would be diabetic, and the status of diabetes from his study for the community would come out to be higher than it actually is, making the sample highly unrepresentative of the population. So instead of applying convenience method, which makes the sample highly unrepresentative, it's best to choose individuals at random. And the simplest method to do that is simple random sampling. In simple random sampling, as the name tells, you simply choose participants at random by applying various methods. One method is lottery method. So the first method is lottery method. In lottery method, you simply get a bucket, put household numbers within the bucket in the form of chits, and then pick these chits. Let's say you get this chit right here and it says 91. Then the household number 91 now becomes a part of your sample. Next method is random number table. Random number table. As the name says, it's a table that contains numbers at random, and from this randomly written number you can start picking up household numbers. So let's say you choose the first two numbers and it comes out to be 01, then that's the household number for your sample. You don't pick the next two numbers. Instead, you pick the numbers after the next two numbers, that is 56. Now 56 is your household number that becomes a part of your sample. In that way, you can randomly choose house numbers that can be a part of your sample. But the problem is, let's say you use random number table and the household numbers that you get are 01, which is basically 1, 56, then again remove 7 8, you get 90, remove 00, you get 67, remove 89, you get 21, and so on. There is still a possibility that all these household numbers have majority of household numbers that still fall under the red locality. And if majority of household numbers they fall under red locality, then after survey the status of diabetes is going to come out to be higher in the community than it actually is. That is why you carry out simple random sampling for homogeneous community. For homogeneous community, simple random sampling is best, but then simple random sampling should not be carried out for heterogeneous community. So next we have systematic random sampling. In systematic random sampling, participants are chosen by using a system but at random. And this is how. First, to carry out this sampling, you require a household list. So right here, I have a list of all the household that is present in the community. In case of random sampling, you'd start randomly picking household numbers from this either by using lottery method or by using random number table. However, in case of systematic random sampling, you need to use a system, and this is what you need to do. So first, the population of the community is 400. You require a sample of 40. You first need to find out the sample interval. Sample interval. This is the system I'm talking about. Sample interval equals to total population divided by your desired sample size. Desired sample. Total population is 400, which is divided by 40, which comes out to be 10. So sample interval comes out to be 10. The significance of sample interval is that now every every 10th house is selected for the sample. So in this case, a system has been used in order to choose the participants for the sample. Now, how is it that we make this random? We make this random by selecting the first house using simple random sampling or randomly. So you choose the first house randomly, and after the first house has been chosen randomly, you will start choosing the every 10th house after the first house. Let's say you applied lottery method to choose the first house and it came out to be house number 3. Now you'll start choosing the every 10th house after house number 3. First, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, 10th. So now 12 is selected. Again, first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, 10th. 21 is selected and so on. So a system has been used, that is sample interval has been used, and randomness has been used by selecting first house applying simple random sampling. That's why we call it systematic and random sampling. Stratified random sampling is the best sampling technique that is used for a heterogeneous community. In stratified random sampling, first stratification is done by the surveyor. That is, the heterogeneous community is divided into strata or subgroups that are homogeneous. So basically, heterogeneous community is divided into homogeneous strata or subgroups. So we have altogether right here 1, 2, 3 strata or subgroups that are homogeneous. The community itself is heterogeneous, but the individual subgroups they are homogeneous. Now, the surveyor reaches out to each of these strata, strata 1, strata 2, and strata 3, and in each of these subgroups or strata, the surveyor carries out SRS, either simple random sampling or systemic random sampling, making the sample highly representative of the actual population of the community. Stratified random sampling is similar to quota sampling if quota sampling was done randomly. This is what I mean. So you have quota sampling and stratified sampling. In quota sampling, the whole community is first divided into strata, and then on this strata, convenience sampling is done. That's why it is not random. In stratified sampling, the whole community is divided into strata, and then to each individual strata, simple or systematic random sampling is done, making the sample random and highly representative. One extra concept in stratified random sampling is that from each of these subgroups, if we select the number of individual at proportion, that is, let's say the population of red group is 100, so we choose a sample of 10 from there. The population of blue group is 200, so we choose a sample of 20. What I have done here is chosen the number of individuals by simple random sampling from each subgroup as per the size of the population. Since the size of the population of red group is 100, I have chosen 10. Size of the population of blue group is 200, so I have chosen 20. So the number of individuals for the sample has been chosen proportionate to the population of the subgroup. And this technique that we have applied is what we call PBS, or probability proportionate sampling. Again, PBS, or probability proportionate sampling, where the sample size is proportionate to the population of the subgroup. In multi-stage random sampling, sampling is done at multiple stages, and to each stage, randomness is applied. This is how it's done. Let's say a surveyor requires a sample of 20 villages, and he achieves his sample by doing this. Firstly, the surveyor has the country. Let's say the surveyor is in a country that has 7 provinces. Out of these 7 provinces, the surveyor selects a total of 2 provinces. This is stage 1. In stage 1, the surveyor selects 2 provinces out of 7 provinces. Then in next stage, the surveyor selects 2 districts from each province. So 2 district each. 2 district each. That is from one province, 2 district, from another province, 2 district, a total of 4 district. So this is stage 2. Again, the surveyor chooses, or the surveyor selects 2 villages each from each district. So 2 villages each. So from one district, 2 villages. This is stage 3. Finally, the surveyor has selected or collected 2 into 2 into 2. 2 to the 4, 4 to the 8, a total of 8 villages. 2 province from 7 province in stage 1. 2 district in each province in stage 2. 2 times 2, 4 district. Then 2 villages from each district in stage 3. So 4 times 2, 8 villages in total. So since the sampling has been done in different stages or multiple stages, it's multi-stage sampling. And we make it random by applying simple or systematic random sampling at each stage. In multi-stage random sampling, sampling was done in multiple stages and randomness was applied to each of these stages. In multi-phase random sampling, sampling is done at multiple phases. This is how. Let's say a hospital carries out a tuberculosis survey. The survey is carried out in a day. So the total patients that the hospital receives in a day is what becomes the part of the survey. Let's say the hospital receives a total of 12,000 patients a day. Out of these 12,000 patients, a total of 6,000 patients are selected for the survey in first phase. This is the first phase. Out of these 6,000 patients, Montauk's test is carried out. Montauk's test is carried out. Out of 6,000 patients, only 1,500 patients, they show positive Montauk's test. The rest that show negative Montauk's test, that is 6,000 minus 1,500, whatever comes out, is removed from the survey. This falls under second phase. Again, sputum smear test is carried out. Sputum smear test. From 1500 patients, a total of 500 patients, they show positive sputum smear test. The rest show negative sputum smear test. So they are removed from the survey. This is under third phase. Finally, out of these 500 patients, a total of 200 patients are selected, and this comes under fourth phase. So in this process, sampling is being carried out in multiple phases, and in these phases, the patients that show negative test are removed from the sampling process. Now the question is, how is this sampling process made random? It is made random by carrying out simple random sampling or systematic random sampling at first phase and at last phase. So the difference between multi-phase and multi-stage random sampling is that in multi-stage random sampling, sampling is carried out in multiple stages, and in each of these stages, simple or systematic random sampling is carried out. However, in case of multi-phase random sampling, sampling is carried out in multiple phases, and simple or systematic random sampling is carried out only in first and last phase of the sampling process. Technique of cluster random sampling is used for checking the immunization coverage in a community. Immunization coverage in a community. And this is how it's done. Let's say we have a community right here which is to be checked of its immunization coverage. First, this community is divided into multiple clusters. Let's say the surveyor divides this community into a total of 500 clusters. Then from this 500 clusters, a total of 30 clusters are chosen. To make it random, SRS, systemic random sampling, is applied to choose 30 clusters out of 500 divided clusters. Then the surveyor goes to each of these 30 clusters. So let's say this is one of the 30 clusters that has been chosen. The surveyor goes to the middle of the cluster and starts moving away from the middle. Until when? Until the surveyor finds 7 children. Until the surveyor finds 7 children. So from each cluster, 7 children is chosen. That is, from 30 clusters, a total of 210 children are chosen. In this case, random sampling is not possible. Instead, first come, first serve is applied. That is, the first 7 children that the surveyor finds in the chosen cluster are the ones that are going to be the part of the sample.